Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today's video is pretty serious because it's the first of a series that I'm calling Fabric Breakdown, in which I'll be picking a fabric that is used in textile and clothing and analyzing it and talking about its social and ecological implications, environmental implications. If you're curious to find out about cotton, then today's episode is for you. I'll be looking at my notes underneath. So if you see me looking underneath, it's because I have my notes there. I'll also be leaving you links as to where I got this information, because clearly I don't work in the cotton industry, I don't work in the clothing industry, but I am someone who's very curious and wants to make educated, informed decisions in terms of consumerism and fashion. So I looked into it and there's quite a lot of things to be said about cotton. First, let's talk about what cotton is and why it's so popular. Clearly, if you look at a lot of your clothes, there will be cotton involved in the composition of this fabric. Cotton is pretty airy and soft and very user-friendly. It is a natural fiber that's pretty easy to turn into a fabric. However, people who take care of the farming and harvesting aspect of cotton generally come from a low socioeconomic background, and also, it probably involves a lot of child slavery, which is obviously a really bad social implication of cotton harvesting and cotton farming. Taking into account how incredible cotton actually is, the market is pretty competitive, and most often the people who do all of the farming and harvesting are the people who are paid the least, and they're generally severely underpaid and underappreciated and work in conditions that are pretty catastrophic. Cotton is very water dependent, and it requires gallons upon gallons, thousands of gallons of water to make one t-shirt. This isn't the worst of it, as cotton requires the use of a lot of pesticides and herbicides to make sure that the harvest doesn't get destroyed by other herbs or other bugs. The use of these chemicals is very much responsible of water pollution, and it also destroys the soil itself. So over time the soil won't be capable of making good quality cotton because of all of the chemicals that have seeped into it. Not only that, but treating the fabric with dyes and other chemicals also leads to toxic pollution, as companies don't always dispose of the toxics in the appropriate way, and it also leads to water pollution as well. Another really huge issue is GMO cotton, which is genetically modified organisms cotton. The premise behind GMO cotton is that it's resistant to bugs, so in theory it should require less use of pesticides. However, these seeds are non-reproductive, which means that each year the farmer is supposed to go through the planting and this whole process all over again. And knowing that these have been genetically modified, this probably means that it's a lot more expensive. So buying those seeds comes at an expense, a great expense for farmers who already don't make that much money, so it becomes difficult for them to maintain their farming business. And since GMO cotton is in high demand, since apparently it's so much better because it's immune to pests and all of that, the price keeps increasing, which means that farmers keep battling this big battle against other corporations over and over again on a yearly, annual basis. Some farmers even resort to the black market, borrowing money from somebody or taking loans, which with crazy benefits, so it puts them under more pressure, leading to the fact that a lot of farmers in fact actually commit suicide because of that. And the fact that these are supposed to be immune to pests doesn't mean that there is no use of pesticides still, as farmers still use pesticides to maintain the most highest immunity to anything that could harm their harvest. And those chemicals are pretty dangerous for their health. A lot of them end up having some chronic illnesses and cancers, or even it gets into their DNA. The worst of it is yet to come, as GMO cotton has chemicals that are still detected on clothes that we are wearing. So those chemicals don't only end up in factories, but they also seep into our skin as we wear items with GMO cotton. In other words, clothing that's made of GMO cotton is not only toxic for farmers and harvesters and people who work in factories, but it's also dangerous and toxic for people who wear them. This leads me to the conclusion that organic cotton is the only cotton that is pretty safe for us to use, that has no chemicals in it whatsoever, that hasn't been treated chemically. And also organic cotton requires the use of less water and less pesticides, which is a win-win situation, and they are also cheaper than GMO cotton. Organic cotton is not only healthier for users, but it's also more attainable to farmers. Not to mention that organic cotton, since it's completely natural, it's also biodegradable, so it will naturally disintegrate, leaving no harm to the environment. Now, the only way that we can really find out whether this cotton was created ethically is by knowing more about the brand that we are interested in purchasing from. What I usually do is I use the application Good On You. I search the name of a brand and I find out how sustainable and ethical it is. In conclusion, cotton can be a great fabric if purchased from right sources. If it is organic, not GMO, and if the harvesting and all of that includes good payment for farmers and also doesn't include the use of child slavery. This is everything I have to share with you today. I hope you learned something new and something helpful. Please feel free to ask me more questions in the comments bar down below. If I don't know the answer, I will definitely look it up and both of us will get educated together. And if I know the answer, I'll definitely share it. And I will also share any reputable sources that I could find to know more about cotton in the comments in the description box down below. There will be 2 links that I highly recommend you read. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something from it, and we shall reconvene in future videos. Goodbye, take care.